Hey, thank you for being here. I appreciate you all so very much. So, these are the energies for the week beginning now. And so I'll speak of the general energies of what is coming in first in spirit, then in how that is manifesting into the physical, and also then the governing bodies of those energies, the challenges that are being those energies are being faced with, i.e., in the physical realm, in your own individual life, you as your own governor, those around you that you socialize with, live with, be with, love with, um, hopefully not hate with, and also the governing bodies then layered up the systems that we live under as to how they are applying themselves to us also as they like to do so very, very much. So where's my thing there? So basically, it's going to all interconnect, all hopefully speak to you in a way to give you a general view of how you reach a level of greatness or a level of peace and bliss regarding the energies that you face. Take what resonates, leave what does not. And I appreciate you all leaving a comment. And of course, please sharing. The work is great, need the work, what we all do right now. And if I can help you guide you on your path, then book in a reading. You'll find the details in the description box of any of the videos that I post as to how to get in touch, how to check out divinity, the teas that I make, the wildcrafted teas that I make, the stuff that I grow to put in them, the magic that I put in them, and also hopefully soon the True Divine website where you'll be able to see the wands and stuff that I carve. I've just carved another one, so hands are all beaten up, but I'm that kind of girl. So basically, in spirit this week, I've been challenged with a loved one, a one that I care about so very much, got my heart, being challenged by certain energies that are coming in. And this is a very special person, and he magnetizes in that special attention from both good and bad places without even trying. So, what happens with me is that, and this is part of my shadow self, that I'm always wrestling with to a certain extent, then submitting to, and then wrestling again and submitting to. And it comes from a lot of confirmation, a lot of uh, control as I was growing up. In one hand, I was unleashed to the masses to pray in tongues over people, knowing that I had these healing hands, this ability to draw energy and get results. That looked good for the church. And plus, let's be fair, there were some real people there who really wanted to see that kind of healing for others. And so, yes, for that, I was set free. This little Jenny Wren that could do. But then there's the other aspects of being brought up in that type of cult, and it is basically the guilt and control matrix blueprint of all of the systems that we live under. And so there's a level of confirmation and a level of being allowed to set that energy and that capacity free, but also being on a leash. So it really is that story of great big giant genie in a itty bitty living space. That you have to put it back in the box when it's not called for by the pastors or the leaders, or when it's not cool to speak on truth of things that would go against the nature of that any given sermon. And so what I do is, and I'm really great at it, is that I'm not, for myself, I'll conform and I'll not conform, because I don't think I'm conform, but as far as me, I'm conforming to shut away some of that energy, and not great at dripping and channeling it into my life on a daily basis, not as great as I should be for the energy that I possess and can bend and transfuse and transmute. But then when a loved one or somebody I care about or something in spirit calls me to somebody's aid, a more vulnerable person or just a person at that time that would need me, but particularly a loved one, I'm like, I can put up with so much, and then there's a level and it's like, I go in spirit. And that's when I go in spirit and I open this drawbridge, this door where I'm raging in spirit. I'm chanting in spirit, and that is just in the inner cosmos and the outer cosmos. I draw from the stars. I go into it deep, and then this week that has followed, the unbelievable has kept happening in the right people, which are really hard to get to within these various systems, have just been put in the place of this person. And today, a sister, one of the greatest friends said, are you not a bit freaked out? Like, it's all good, but it's unbelievable how things have worked out. And I've said, my body is freaked out. Everything about my body all of a sudden wants to say, okay, that's enough, and start to shut that trap door, that push it shut with that force, that river, that current running through it. And everything in spirit is saying, no, resist that urge, resist that bodily urge to say, okay, I'm not going to keep flowing too much of myself up in this space. And now is different in that also in spirit, it feels like this is reflecting in my own life and in the people that I care about, because it's time also on a wider scale for those who are of the adept nature, for those who are of a mastery level, for those who are in their knowing of themselves, to not shut that trap door, to not separate it for the comfortability of others around them, to not align yourself back into that alignment of the systems that be and the powers that be, including those around you in the periphery, because it's time now where there is a war in real time and manifestation. There is a spiritual battle of the consciousness going on, and it's actually time now to be unapologetic about thy true self and to allow that type of energy to flow in. A lot of the powers that be and the narcissists around us that walk among us, and worse still, rely on that. They rely on that conditioning to kick in, for us to sort of, be meek and mild and only deliver a little bit of what we've got. Because when we're in full flow, then it wouldn't be hard if all of us who are of the adept were in that full flow, to rebalance and recalibrate the shit out of this place. And so I'm just saying to you now, if your ears are hearing me, if your eyes have been witnessing similar things to me around, and I'm not going into specifics because they're not my specifics to share. Time is now. Let it flow. And let whoever doesn't like it blow, because it really is now is the time to let this flow in. So I've done a reading for the week ahead, like I say, and we're going to speak about in spirit what is happening and the predominant energies that I'm picking up on in spirit, in the ethers, and how that is drawing down into and manifesting into the physical. And also, again, like I don't know if I've said, the governing bodies within ourselves, how we govern ourselves, how we conform ourselves, how we limit ourselves, but also widening that out as to how it resonates with you individually, to the people around you, to even the people of the powers that be in the systems that we live under, how they are then challenged by or affected by or noticing or counteracting the energies that we are drawing down into the physical from spirit. So the first card is the Two of Cups. So this speaks of the divine feminine, divine masculine balance. It speaks of divine union. And so there is this level of remembrance and spirit happening for many here and beyond, of the divine union of divine masculine, divine feminine. Now in the physical manifestation, we are seeing the distortion and disfigurement of this energy of this card, in that the divine feminine, divine masculine, you mentioned that in most of the truther circles where grifters lie, and it's like, oh yes, you see, they're Satanists, they believe in, believe it or not, as soon as you say divine feminine, feminism, never let it be said, but they are confusing, and very much so this is a part of an agenda to take away from the fact that they are discombobulating the truth of the divine feminine and divine masculine. When I say it lies within a capacity within all of us, they are taking that and morphing it into the transgender argument, believe it or not, on the ground. And they're taking certain esoteric texts and saying, you see, they all want to be like transgender hermaphrodites, and it's like, oh, the stupidity, the numbness. It's a separate thing. There's a beauty in the manifestation of creation in this physical realm of the male and the female, man and woman. But there is also within that capacity, not within the body, within the consciousness, of the availability to have a balance of divine feminine and divine masculine. And a lot of this esoteric text that they are challenging and saying as part of the agenda is speaking of that. It's not speaking of a physical being, it's speaking of the manifestation of those divinities in the consciousness, and how then you can bring that down and apply that in the physical and use that as one of your greatest strengths of balance in this space. And so this is a huge call-in for those that hear it and also see the agenda on the physical realm, in that we have to challenge that. We have to bring out in and work in our divinities, and keep raising that bar to speak in spirit, in our divinities, in our energy, in this energetic realm in the ethers. You're not seeing any physical manifestation of a man and a woman. I'm seeing colors, I'm seeing frequencies, I'm seeing an aura, a ball, I'm seeing the consciousness. And so this is where in the emotional body, this is the connection of the divine feminine, divine masculine, and the reverence that is given to both of those divinities in their separate condition. But when they come into connection in a spirit being, the power and the beauty of that divine union is so strong and so palpable. Is the cup runneth over, the balance, the ability to come from to come from an entwined space where there isn't that it manifests in the physical, to take away from that sexism, to take away from misogyny, to take away from, because this is a spiral of two. It is that kundalini energy. It is that balance of the two, both twining with each other, and being able to dance and build upon each other and bring strength and reverence to both divinities. It is the love story of the consciousness realm of and it is what we feel when we are in divine union, in the physical manifestation of those two physical spaces coming together, bringing those divinities from within together, creating the firm foundation of how to proceed forward in a balanced way, in a way that is of good, of fulfillment, of inner standing. So then we go on to the Three of Pentacles, which is next up in this reading, which would speak to physical things, physical people, but also this ability to work as a team. And comes to how I started off this broadcast, in that it was casting out to my fellow adepts, to my fellow masters, to speak out, to say that, okay, now it's time to really work as a team, to bring these divinities within the consciousness of self into teamwork, to intertwine with one another, to dance in spirit with one another, to literally make conscious love to one another, to be able to build on this and let this energy flow into the physical space. Where there has been division, there will be union, there will be unity. Where there has been a separation, there will be teamwork, there will be connected wants and drives and passions towards something. This speaks to the trinity of being able to work in that consciousness field, from the soul to the spirit to the physical. And being able to do that, we have to be able to work in the divinities and balance divinities at that, in the reverence for one another. We see then we have the Four of Cups, so emotional bodies surrounding the physical aspects. What we see here is this is the cup being handed from the heavens and a lot of other decks. And for those that do not see that, the opportunity, they're not seeing what is in front of them, because maybe they're looking with these two eyes as what is in front of them in the physical realm too much. What is there for you in spirit? What kind of team is calling you in to do your work, to play your part? This is a real invitation onto a battlefield of love, a battlefield of connection, a battlefield of divinities, of not bringing in those distractionary things, but being very sacred and ritualistic about how we enter into this space. And so on the bottom of the deck with that, we see the Ace of Swords. So now we have that that thought. And really what we bring down into this physical being is done via air, via thought, via wisdom, via connection to, yes, all of this, but also to then the bridge is that sword. It is that sword, that word. It is that the language that puts together all of this and applies it. And so creating that bridge is super important, and that bridge is built upon thoughts. So one thing that is screaming out to me for us to be aware of in our spirit, in the unseen, in the air, which is what spirit is, the definition of, it's to be very exact and on point, and very unapologetic about being exact and on point regarding our thoughts, regarding what we allow in and what we certainly allow out through the thought, in the unseen, building it up in this womb that sometimes can be a bit loose, the womb of the mouth. So to be able to keep the lips shut, to allow the right wordage to form, to allow the right words to come to this space, to be very adept at thinking through the words. As it takes a long time to think that sentence through, thinking through the words and what are behind the words. What is the emotion behind that word? What is the physical drive behind that word? What is it that you're wanting to see? And being very exact and equation like about how you want that to be seen in the physical, because sure enough it is going to come. How do you want it to manifest itself? And those thoughts are the bridge or the gatekeepers of what we allow into this physical space. So going on to how this is manifesting in the physical. For the first card, we have the Knight of Cups coming through. And so it is this message of what are your waters telling you? What are your, oh wow, yeah. So wade in the waters comes to mind and that going back to those dark waters that can be very frightening to some, where that divine union happens. You see the two fish here that look like fish coming up from these cups, and it's from that divine union in the middle that is built, as above, so below. And we see here that there's passion with this red on the bottom here as a foundation. If you look at it at a glance, it looks like a tree. It looks like very much so that these fish are being born out of the union of these two cups. And so going back to those waters, what message are you then bringing back from those waters? And this speaks to, when you wade in those waters, it's the ancestral memory, your memory. The water encapsulates and keeps memory, holds memory, as flexible as it is. Why? Because memory is thought, it is movable, it flows. But what are you wading in those waters to truly absorb the messages that you want to bring forth? What kind of you have to be very sacred when you go into those ancestral waters. And when I say sacred, I mean spiritually clean in your intent, in your purpose for being there in the first place. There is a lot of pain there. There is a lot of torture there. There is a lot of bliss there. There is so much there that has been remembered within the waters that you wade in. And in that song, Wade in the Waters, it's God's going to stir up the waters. That's you, that as gods and goddesses stirring up those waters. What do you stir up, and how do you deliver that message in the physical, in a way that touches the emotions of those around you, in a way that also is a knight and is on a mission and doesn't care to a certain extent how it touches others that would just want to distort that message. This message comes back very pure through this divinity, and this divinity coming into union with the ancestral waters and birthing a new balance, a new age. And how that age is going to manifest through that message, through how you use your emotional intelligence, how you use your wisdom of how to apply those emotions, and where is your knight going in the physical to deliver these messages. Because deliver these messages to the wrong people, to neophytes that aren't ready for them, and it causes destruction. It causes actually a distortion of the sacred message. And that is, a travesty when that happens, because the truth is sacred, and the truth is should be looked at as something that is to remain pure, from the perspective of the giver of that truth. Now, the Three of Pentacles brings up the Chariot card when it was speaking about how it manifests into this physical space. So the Chariot card is the woodchuck card of spirit. It is the card of the chariot that needs to be balanced, going back to that Two of Cups. As you see, the yin and the yang balance, the divine feminine, divine masculine balance of this chariot must be kept in space, because what happens in spirit fully happens in the physical quickly. It's coming, it's a chariot flying across the sky. You can't have this chariot in an imbalance. It will rip that chariot in two, i.e. you in two. It will divide those divinities. So this chariot speaks very strongly as to those who are hearing this message, or just applying this message because you absorb the same energies as I do. It is about the fact that don't be afraid about that trapdoor that I was speaking about at the start. When you start to see this chariot through the physical space that you're in, because that is exactly what it will do. And that is exactly why you have to be careful of where you apply this message. What direction are you sending that arrow in, through an emotional message, an emotive message? So speaking of that, we then go on to the Five of Wands. And this applies to the Four of Cups card, in that we go from the 4 to the 5. You draw in that emotional message, that opportunity, in spirit, through the emotional body, through the waters, into the physical space, and it will cause conflict, it will cause upset, because it will upset the apple cart, not because it upsets nature. Nature loves that kind of divine balance, but because it upsets the inorganic systems that we've allowed to be built up too much, that actually take away from the truth and balance of a good life in this space. And so this will cause conflict for those around the periphery of these energies that are being pulled in by the adept. This conflict is where you wade through the waters, you kick up the sand, you kick up the dirt, you kick up, and when it says in that song, God's going to stir up the waters, it is about that the distortion is kicked up from everything is flung up in. It's like throwing cards up in the air and letting them all land down, and there's a mess, because in that room, those cards didn't belong. You weren't allowed to just come in there and flip the board up. That's like, who does that? And adepts for too long have said, no, we won't do that. We won't upset that apple cart. We won't upset the space here. We're all love and light, and we bring peace. Well, that peace doesn't come in the space of these systems that are so inorganic and damaging to us and nature. And so when that chariot comes rushing through, which is the number 7, that bridge, the spiritual bridge from the physical, the spiritual to the physical, then yes, we're going to have that 2 of Cups deducted from that 7, and damn, we're going to have conflict. And there's going to be distraction with that conflict. This card is Wands, it's fire, it's passion, but it's unbridled passion in all directions, wands flying everywhere. And so this often will come through the more masculine energies around that are connected very deeply to the patriarchal systems, that even if they say they're fighting them, they are replicating them. So therefore they want them to still continue. There's a self-invested interest there, through ego, through, conditioning, whatever it might be, but conflict it is. We have to keep in that balance of that 2 of Cups, that divinity, the two divines connecting, and be able to draw through that message. And this is very working in teams, this is why they've worked so hard to still create the need for secret societies, which there's always been for as long as we can see a general need for the adepts to keep some things back, because putting too much out there would create a distortion. It would create power hunger. It would create, a dystopian view of some psychopaths want to have power over others, but they then steal all that knowledge. There's a hijack at some point, or at some points, create secret societies of their own, a lot in plain sight, actually have those secret societies funded while continuously stealing that knowledge further and further away to disconnect people more and more and more away from self, which is another reason you have people in such conflict and such distraction about what the divine feminine, divine masculine represents, and the transgender agenda that we see bringing, trying to coagulate all of it together, rather than seeing it as, yes, all as one being, but the separate layers of that one being many and being vastly different in the realms that those parts of that being live in. I.e., it would be silly for us in spirit to say, you can't be a divine feminine or a divine masculine, you're a ball of energy. Oh yeah, so there isn't actually a physical body to argue over, is there? 5 of Cups, 5 of Wands. It's hard to fight with stupid. And so she says in a very spiritual way. But it is, because that's what we're dealing with now, that they've stolen so much knowledge for so long, in that there is a level of stupidity where they can drop a seed in to say that this is part of the spiritual thing, to not see our bodies as important, to want to distort and actually take away their creative processes in so many ways, and we're going to coagulate that together with the divine things being in on that too, just mix it in the mixing pot. And that's where that 5 of Wands comes in. And when we're drawing in this type of energy through the chariot into the physical space, then we're going to see the 5 of Wands, which is a lot of distractionary energy. So we're going to go backwards in the next part of the reading, because as that is drawing into the physical space, this is how it is manifesting. Now, we're going to see in the governing bodies within ourselves and around us and above us within the systems that we live under, the 5 of Swords is this one. Yes, 5 of Swords. So you see here, we've had this one last week, I'm sure, where this soldier of sorts is taking an account of those that have been trapped and chained behind their backs, had their swords, their words taken away from them, silenced, and they've had their hands tied behind their back, so they can't use those swords in a way to defend themselves, in a way to represent themselves. They are on their knees, and so they with their hands behind their backs, literally. And so this is where we see that this harnessing of this 5 of Swords by the powers that be, if we're looking at this as an individual thing, in that, where are you tying your own hands behind your back and allowing another to take account of your thoughts, to control your words, to limit what you say and how you say it and where you say it. Also, if we look above us, we're going to see this week this conflict, the MK Ultra style, dropping seeds, especially into the grifter pool, to then grift it out to the others of we're bringing in this deep spiritual message through the chariot, and all of a sudden, they are creating the story to be about the distraction, to be about a part of the agenda that they're trying to bring forward, and also to bring a hatred towards the adepts. And so this is where, through neophytes around you, you're going to see that the adepts, that there's going to be an attempt to energetically tie your hands behind your back regarding words in particular, and what words we're allowed to use, how we're allowed to apply those words, and who we're allowed to apply those words to. So lots of distractions in order to shut up the energy that they feel flowing in via the adepts. So we're going to see that coming in, and deeply, I would say, and importantly, I would say, to totally detach yourself from the reactive process that you riding in on your chariot creates, and that drop that message in to those that need to hear it, as I'm doing now, and absolutely cut yourself off from the deployed distractionary art of distraction, grifters and the likes, that'll come flooding in. You know, open that flood door in spirit and shut that trap door in the physical as far as the distractions go. No, just don't allow this to be. Don't allow this to have your hands tied behind your back. The hands that we speak with, that we emphasize with, that we move, she says, because she talks with her hands a lot. Who's doing this to you and how? In a lot of cases, you're going to find this week that when you self-reflect, that they're doing this to you through almost your own will, to want to go in with this chariot into this space where this Five of Wands is, to say, this is ridiculous. Can you not see? Can you not tell that you're being controlled, that you're being cattled into an area of a distraction just to make some noise over there while we get on with what we get on with over here against the people? So there's going to be that temptation again for the adepts to just say, all right, I'm in flow right now, I'm just going to go in there, I'm going to go in that bar, I'm going to cut their wands and I'm going to make them listen. Well, then you become the energy of those that you say you fight against. You want to force that hand behind the back. You want to force their mind to be concentrated on what you're saying. And again, that would be to force the message on the wrong people. So that's a very important message for the energies coming up this week. Working our way backwards again, we have the Eight of Cups. Now, this would apply to the Chariot card and to the Three of Pentacles. So it's going from the 7 to the 8. The Eight of Cups would speak to harmony. It would want to speak to, in this card, as the relaxed tones that these women in this card are giving off. Are the one of them is playing like two of them are playing like a chess-like game, but you can see from the demeanor sitting down, very relaxed, very enjoyment of just the game process. Now, in the background, you can see another one playing a harp, another one playing a sort of guitar-like instrument. So there's harmony here, there's peace here. The Eight of Cups, nobody's having to guard over them, nobody's having to like say that's my cup, I created that's my emotion. This is very much creating that balance of the teamwork with this Three of Pentacles. So what you're drawing down in spirit, you'll find when you're putting your message in the right places with that emotional Knight, that Knight of Cups, and the Divine Cups here of the Divine Union, and taking a chance on taking the right emotion to the right space, making the right move in the game to get that message across. there is a lot of connection happening this week for those who are in that energy of the adept, of the master. There are a lot of us reaching out to one another in spirit, in the unseen, and working and making sure that that work is done. But it feels relaxed because this is in our space where we actually are more comfortable, because we're there at a level, we're there at an inner standing, understanding and overstanding of there is no ego in this. It is just gameplay, and we're bringing balance and harmony to the space here. It would speak to emotional messages being passed from one move to the other, from one note of frequency of music to the other. There is harmony here in the music and in the gameplay, and so there's a connection in spirit of where we are saying, okay, we know where we are in this game now. We know where we need to be placing our very abundant, but very precious emotions that are infused with our thoughts, that are infused with our harmony, with our frequency, and where we allow that to flow, i.e. in the teamwork that is resonant of us, that resonates with us, that doesn't take but builds, and teaches one another. So there's the exchanging of these cups for the most part. Now, going back over to the last card, but first card in that, and it just worked out that way, that it was best to read it that way. We have the Seven of Cups. So there's so much emotional flow right now. There is so much, and it feels like a frequency river. It feels like a flow. It feels like a from above, so below flow. It feels like a channel that we are all dipping into, or many of us are dipping into, and flowing and actually being able to register each other's energies just from a toe in the water. Even we are able to feel and speak to each other through this emotional flow. The waters above us, within us, around us, under us, we can feel them drawing upon one another. And so this Seven of Cups would speak to, there is so much distraction in this physical space, so much manipulated and constructed heartache and imbalance. There is so much battleground tactics happening that the Seven of Cups would speak to in this card. They're being luxurious with it. They're revering one another. They are adorning one another. They're playing in that flow. But there's a level here where, with the Two of Cups and the Seven of Cups, there's a level here of being very consciously aware of not being drawn away by a distraction. There's a lot of little channels coming off this river of consciousness, this river of emotion, and there is a lot of things to do. There's a lot of things to process. There's a lot of things. I could have done 20 videos this week, but everything was needing me for the things I had to say, everything was needing me to concentrate in this space of this river, and allowing those enormous emotions flow, going into the divine spaces to draw on that love, that empathy, that compassion that I have for this person, to be able to let go of all of the other projects, things to do, things to put my energy into, this was enough to grab me and focus me. And so that's where is your focus? Where do you, as an adept, as a master, want to put your emotional focus on? Where are you going to channel that energy through your emotions? What we all can play a part to tackle or infuse a certain aspect of what's going on right now. We can't do it all at once. And so that's where this teamwork comes in, the reverence of one another in the spaces that we're working in and the emotional messages that we bring forward. So on the bottom of the decks for all three of these readings that come together, we've got the Ace of Swords, as we mentioned, in spirit. That's the consciousness bridge that brings that thought into physical manifestation. What we're bringing forward with those cups is important, and that again is reinforced by the Three of Cups being on the bottom of the deck, where the physical manifestation of what we're doing in spirit this week, and the energies that we're drawing in, you can see the Three of Cups. And again, so it's that trinity, where there is the trinity of working in teams, tagging each other in. Again, we've been doing it for Scotty, and his spirit speaking to me, and there's a struggle there, but we're holding that space for him in that time. Nothing lost, nothing broken, in that we know that we can still tandem up with that energy and the various other energies that we are connected to work as a team. And that manifests in the physical, to celebration, to a feeling of bliss, a feeling of winning, a feeling of togetherness, of celebration of one another. The three and the three making the six, being this physical manifestation of this body that I'm sitting in, that you're sitting in. So it's pulling it all together and bringing this celebratory energy amongst all of this riffraff of distractions and agendas, and with this Five of Wands here. Beyond that, in spite of that, there is this sense of jubilation, this sense of where people are fighting wars that are battling the here and now, the physical distortions of where the fight should be, of where a battle should be, of where a rebalancing should be, of where energy should be, of where a thought pattern should be. We're rising above that, and bringing the celebratory energy, because we feel what we're doing in spirit, and we actually can feel and see what that is bringing into this physical space. Heads rolled this week. When I went into spirit, heads have rolled this week, and they will continue to roll. That justice will be done, but not because I was going in there with threats or going in there trying to distract from the truth. It was bringing it to the organic emotional message of, I care about this person, and I'm going to make you see why I care about this person, how much I care about this person. Then I'm going to ask you to apply yourself and show yourself. And they did, because they connected with that emotional message that I was bringing forward about this spirit, about this person, about the physical manifestation of this person and their rights as an individual. And so there's been celebration amongst such distractionary chaos that needn't have ever been. There has been a sense of celebration and togetherness, and again, bonding of those that have helped me with that energy and helped me with this process. And so on the bottom of the last deck, we've got the Fool card. And so this would speak to it's difficult with this Five of Swords. It's difficult to feel like you're beginning again, but that's when you're thinking on linear terms. It's when you're thinking on this this flat line, in this flat line way that we've been conditioned to think of, and time as we've been given it to use. When you're beginning again, and then you're beginning again, and you're beginning again, it's just cyclical process. And sometimes it can feel a bit disparaging to be given this major arcana when you feel like you've begun again so many times. But the whole part of this is that we live and die in moments. We actually live and die and transform in minuscule moments of time as things progress and things are birthed and things die and ideas go and wants and needs change. We live and die and transform many times, many times over. And so this Fool card speaks of the capacity to be light, to be of a level of freedom and sovereignty that doesn't even hold yourself captive or anchored by the thought of, oh, I'm a failure, I'm beginning again. Here we go again. It's another start. It's like, yes, it's another start. Damn right, it's another start. Damn right it is. And you might even be repeating the same process, but it's a new start because you maybe it's going to change how you apply yourself in that same process. So damn straight it's a new start, but damn straight it's exciting. It's invigorating. It's even invigorating to dance this type of spiritual dance, drawing this down into the physical realm and seeing the fallout and the fall in because of it, in spite of it, in the presence of it, in the presence of you and the energy that you can apply, the excitement, the drive, and the passion that can alleviate you of the various worries and observations of what could go wrong, of how many times it has gone wrong, but to be able to apply yourself in an excited way, even into an energy or energies that are challenging, that are combative, or that are wanting to, let's see, distract you and mar you and just draw you away from, or the energies. Where is it? That Five of Swords. See, disappearing Five of Swords, sneaky little buggers, wanting to tie people up without them even knowing they're being tied up. Don't know where it's gone. But chasing after this, this energy of everything's got to be okay, everything's got to feel okay. It's not going to, and it hasn't. When I work in spirit to the extent that I've worked in spirit this week, one for Scotty, another for more personal, a closer person to me in the physical space, it has been that it's like, right, okay, I'm just letting this flow. And yes, I might begin again. I've begun again every day of this week, same process, knocking down doors energetically and physically until I got heard. And it could have been disparaging, but then each day there's been a reason for it. There's been an accumulation of my energy to break down barriers and doors that have been locked, that have been obstructive. And so, yes, I'm damn straight I got up every morning beginning again. Yes, I'm damn straight I got up and said, yes, I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to apply this method this time, but I'm going to bring that organic message each time I go. I'm going to show this space that it cannot dictate to my loved one how safe they can be or how comfortable they can be in their own skin. I'm going to continue beginning again until I see the beginning that I want to manifest for them, until I can see them and watch them in a journey that, yes, is full of trepidation, yes, is full of challenges, especially for a youngster, but it's to see them and watch them, to know that I've done everything. I've begun again so many times that at least they have a start. At least they have a pathway forward. So damn straight you're beginning again. And I hope you begin again and begin again and begin again 1,000 times over before each day is ended this week with these energies that are drawing in. Because you've got that strength and that power right at your beck and call. You've got that union and that teamwork and spirit, like a lighthouse, beaconing you in to say, let's go, let's flow, let's make this emotional message be heard. And that emotional message is that we are actually sanctified. We are actually in the sacred space of being close enough to self in knowing of thyself to be able to revere other divinities that we meet in that space, to be able to work with them with that 8 of Cups, play with them, game with them, with an ability of not one-upmanship, but in a relaxed way, because there's nothing to prove in that space. Nobody's trying to be the power adept over the adepts. There isn't any leaders, there's just connectors and connecting bodies that are bringing this river of emotion into the physical space. So wherever you might be, whatever you might be challenged with in the week ahead coming forward, don't shut that trap door. Don't allow the physical responses, like when you walk in a room and there's lots of unseen presence there, lots of spiritual presence there, your hairs go up on end. And that's just because your physical body is entering into blurred spaces, gray lines, that it doesn't feel in that intensity all of the time. So there's a reaction, but then there's an emotional intelligence and adepthood of being able to say, okay, let's just feel this out. Yes, the body might be wanting to run out of this room, but we're here to be in conversation, to be in exchange of what's the message, or is there just you're just here, and that's okay. But we have to fight that physical body response sometimes to run out the door and shut the door, because we've been so disconnected for so long and so challenged by so much to bring this type of presence, ancestral knowledge into the flow of consciousness into this physical space. And it is because it is feared the most. So everything about the conditioning around us has made us want our bodies to fear that frequency that puts the hairs on end, to fear that tingle down the spine. But fear not, open that door, dance with me, dance with others in the unseen. Come to the dark room and manifest and draw out the potentials that you know are possible, that you speak to others about the possibility of. We need to do a bit of overtime. And this speaks to sleep too. It is so important that we are using that sleep realm in the way that I feel it is meant to be used, and that it's a time for our bodies to physically sleep, for one reason, is to get rid of those things that would make this body's hair stand on end, that would make us want to stop the process, to run away from the process, to shut the door. This body rests. Consciousness doesn't need to rest. It doesn't need to sleep. It actually can apply itself in a very powerful way, in a different way, but a very powerful way, as that chariot while you sleep, in the starry night sky, in the cosmos of the subconscious. And so sleep is important. You know, anybody who's followed me for any length of time, I'm speaking to me because that is another challenge in this space. Even as a baby, I'd lie awake playing with energy. It would drive my mother up the wall because she wanted me to sleep. not because I was crying, because I was annoying her, but because she couldn't sleep when I wasn't asleep. She didn't feel relaxed. She felt a bit bad. She felt ignorant, she said, when she would see me just, playing with energy. She felt guilty for just letting me do that on my own, but I was quite happy to do that on my own. So I know that for some reason I've come into this space where I don't need a lot of sleep, but that means I can still overdo it for too long and get out of balance. Again, that 5 of Wands distracted me into thinking I've got to get so much done. Where is it? Doesn't really matter at this point, but so much done at this point and that point, and distractions. And that's when I lose sleep. And so I'm going into sleep very ritualistically, as I do, but I'm doing it with intent. And this week, with these energies coming up, I'm going to be doing it with an even stronger level of consciousness and intent towards it, of winding down, using my teas. There's the great, I'll make it for an order. Not sure everything. Oh, exciting. Turkey tail powder, my turkey tails. So I'll show you that in another video because I don't want to take up time. But things like, let's see. I've got a bag here that I'm going to send out later today. So the sage, mint, and lavender, all grown by me, all with my alchemy in, but using those tools for myself and applying them to myself, having that ritualistic tea, that medicinal tea to unwind and relax before my head hits the pillow exhausted. Going to sleep exhausted this week will be to our detriment. Going to sleep in a way that isn't of our intent and of our control, of winding down that point of space in us, the winding down this point of space in us, winding down this point of space of us, and then going to sleep. Doing it in a way of the alchemist, doing it in a way of the mathematician, in an equation, in segments, with intent. Because going into that restful sleep this week is going to be very powerful for drawing that message from spirit into the physical being, and is where most of the work will be accomplished. From what I'm seeing this week, where most of the deep connections to that inner child subconsciously, very powerful this week. And again, not in a way from a fear-based, but a gameplay with that 8 of Cups, in a way of a relaxed, like, oh, let's see your move, inner child, where do you want to go with that move? Well, I'm going to teach you as your outer adult. This move might be better. Being very conscious about what we're doing in that subconscious space. And there is no better connection of that subconscious space for the daily practice of the sleep. It's your body that needs to sleep, not your consciousness. So rise with me. As you go down, rise with me. As you're sleeping, I'll enter your dreams. If we're in resonance with one another, if we are in the adepts games room, then yes, while I'm awake, I'll join you in your sleep. I'll join you in that subconscious space. If you've got it messed up like a 5 of Wands, bar, where's that 5 of Wands, or a 5 worth still 5 of Swords nightclub, I'm out of there. I'll be like, see you next week when you got this a bit more chill. Be relaxed about connecting with other adepts this week. Be relaxed about exiting that space if need be. But I just feel there's a magnetism, there's a gathering, there's a pooling of this emotional body, of these divinities all connecting in union with one another. replicate and build in the message that needs to go forward. And there will be conflict that is brought to that message, bringing that forward, just because it challenges the systems that, you know, are the monsters. They've created monsters up here that want to survive. So I hope you can take from that everything that you needed to follow your greatest path this week, to be unapologetic about who you are and what you bring to this space, to live, love, laugh, that cliche that they wrote on everything, and celebrate. Work in spirit together, work in the unseen, bring forward those full potentials, and be gone with the distractions. This is time to get, you know, on the podium, so to speak, speaking to one another, for those that have eyes to see and ears to hear only, and bringing that message with that Knight of Cups, not through force, but through example. Through example. You can't face down a narcissist by giving it the straight on cup. This knight is emotionally intelligent enough that it takes a detour even to deliver the wings on his helmet through the air, through the thoughts that are infused in that fluid in the cup, to a space that is able to live by example. There is no revenge that can be taken out on a narcissist because they're in a different space. They're on a different frequency. You can never meet them at that frequency. What you can do is show example. And the example should be that you lead with that cup. You lead with your emotions. You lead with your truth. You lead with your love and where you place that love. And the more people that place that love in spaces that are deserving of it, not deserving of it, but open to it, and that aren't going to trample over it, but are going to revere it, that is the example that we need to bring forward this week. Much love, balance, and wholeness. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate you all sharing and subscribing. If you haven't already, that is truly appreciated. Get past that 1,000 mark. Damn, that is a gate that just keeps staying over there and needed to draw in this way. So we can do more driving talks live and whatnot. But thank you for all that you already do. I truly appreciate it. I love connecting with you all in the unseen. I'm there right now. Come dance with me, come connect with me, come draw down with me what we have in our divinity to this physical space. Let's recalibrate the shit out of this. And charge a different path, you know, carve a different path, create something about ley lines, but go back to the ley lines, go back to channeling our energies like that, our emotions like that, in a way that works to magnetize the earth, to infuse, like the teas, infuse the properties rather than force. We infuse and transmute this week. That's what needs to be said. Much love, balance, and wholeness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Leave a comment. Please do. I like to know how you're navigating the energies as far as what resonates with you for these readings. It does keep you going, you know, putting this out, making the effort. Yeah, I think that is all. I'm going to be on Wayne's show, figuring out when that's going to happen, just waiting for Wayne to get in touch. Can't wait for that. If you haven't checked out our Wayne's Tigers channel already, then you really should, because it would be amiss not to, for the knowledge and understanding and gameplay of exploration that happens over there. I really appreciate him and everybody over there too. What else needs to be said? So I'm going to try and come back to you this weekend, because there are things that have come through very strongly that I do need to speak on. I'll see how the weekend goes, spending time with the boys and whatnot. We'll see what we can fit in and where and when. Might try and do a live, so keep checking in. Be aware, I'm a mother first, businesswoman, healer, whatever else I am, all of the different, hats I put on. Be aware of that, but I will try and check in if I can and do a live, because I think that would be good for us all to connect in real time, for real, for real. Remember as well, coming forward, there is a lot of speak about parasites. I warned about this a long time ago. Do the parasitic cleanse, but we're also doing that in spirit, very much so too. To cleanse ourselves spiritually, to be spiritually clean, is very important, but also to be physically clean. And these parasites have gotten out of control, and they are being formed in the gut through the foods that we're putting in, but not just that, the things that were being sprayed, that all working together, that the body is full right now of parasites that aren't helpful at all. So do those parasitic cleanses. Reach out to me if you want any of the teas that can help you do that, but there's lots out there that can help you do that. I'm not going to go in it with too much on here, because I think right now they're really coming down on the freedom of speech regarding parasitic cleanses. So we'll do another video just on that, where we can word things more carefully, as said in the reading. But very much so, as a matter of course, right now, I will be doing things that would help with a parasitic cleanse. Whoever needs to hear this, mix some cayenne pepper in some, I don't know, olive oil, orange juice, fresh orange juice. I find it easiest. Cayenne pepper, huge. It helps the blood carry the oxygen in a massive way. Cayenne pepper can help you heal from the likes of genital warts. It can, and also whoever needs to hear this, of course, you don't need leave a comment, but thuja. It's like THUGA, I want to say, but thuja. And it's the bark, the seeds and the bark of the old cedar. And that, before you are going in for any treatment for anything like genital warts or warts on the hand, that would leave a scar and it's very painful, take thuja. You won't regret it. Of course, this is not medical advice, etc., but for YouTube. But I would strongly recommend that whoever needed to hear that, you got that information now. It is really cheap to get a hold of. Get a reputable, get it from a reputable place, a herbalist, a holistic store. But the thuja, the course of thuja, will clear it up, but not just clear it up. When they say you never get rid of them, get rid of them. I'd question that when people use thuja. And so it's a very powerful thing with little to none side effects for that use of treating that type of ailment. What else is there? And add some Himalayan salt to the water. There's been advice on my end. I do that anyway, and the person that was given that advice and that good news was very thankful that I was doing that for the kids. So mineralizing the water with a really good Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, you know, that not table salt, please no. But putting just a tiny little bit of it in the water really does help. That's very good for the body in a lot of ways that we'll go into another time. But whoever needs to hear those things, use your Himalayan salt, cayenne pepper in some orange juice daily, will really help. Anybody dealing with any of the blood type issues, or an infection of any kind, that cayenne pepper and that orange juice is really going to help cleanse that blood, and help it do what it's supposed to do in carrying the hemoglobin, the oxygen around the body, feeding those organs. So cleansing is very much about the blood, because the blood reaches every part of your body. It's the pump, it's the substance that is pulled through every organ and recirculates, recycles, and so yes, blood is super important as far as any cleanse goes. Look to how you cleanse the blood. I think that's about it for what I feel coming through. For whoever needed to hear that, you're welcome. You'll thank me later when you realize how effective, particularly Thuja, but all of those things together will be for your affliction. Much love, balance, and wholeness. Mwah.